Welcome to Guns, Guns, Gear, and Guns with Gary Gunderson. I am Gary Gunderson. In a report, it was revealed that the CDC removed the statistics detailing defensive use of firearms from their website at the behest of gun control advocates. Emails indicate that they initially resisted this removal, with one doctor indicating that we, quote, stand behind our fact sheet, end quote, and objecting to the number of defensive gun uses provided by these gun control advocates as, quote, a very small subset of people who have used guns defensively. But they were pushed and relented to these organizations in a meeting facilitated by Senator Dick Durbin, a known gun grabber. For those unaware, the study that was scrubbed from their website was initiated by President Obama in 2013 and indicated that, quote, almost all national survey estimates indicate that defensive gun uses by victims are at least as common as offensive uses by criminals, and estimates of annual uses ranging from about 500,000 to more than 3 million. That is a wild number. The number of defensive use of firearms is proportional on the small end or greater than criminal use of firearms. How can there even be a debate about carrying firearms with those numbers? And the number of people carrying firearms for daily use has only increased over the last decade, so if anything, these numbers are presumably greater. In fairness, unlike these advocacy groups, there was a dispute noted in the study contradicting these numbers from a prior study indicating a mere 108,000 uses annually. However, in that study, respondents were not even asked about defensive gun use, so those results would be drastically underrepresented. 2.5 million annual uses of guns in self-defense is what is usually mentioned nowadays whenever this is brought up, in reference to a study by Gary Kleck, and what is mostly referenced as the most accurate and up-to-date data. The director of the Gun Violence Archive, Mark Bryant, said, quote, that 2.5 million number needs to be killed, buried, dug up, killed again, and buried again. Clearly an unbiased observer of facts from a not at all unhinged director of a quote-unquote archive, he continues that he believes it has zero value, even as an outlier point. Bryant, it should be noted, was one of the individuals meeting with the CDC officials to discuss this matter. Of course, if you are looking at an issue objectively, the good that the defensive use of firearms brings should be in the conversation when talking about firearms as a whole. These are perhaps millions of lives saved annually, or at least millions of crimes prevented. After these closed-door meetings where they were questioning the science of a CDC study, the CDC informed these groups that they were planning to update the fact sheet in early 2022 and, quote, we will also make some edits to the content we discussed that I think will address the concerns you and other partners have raised. Indeed, look at the CDC website under Firearms Violence Prevention and the subsection titled, What is defensive gun use? How often does it occur? The only information they provide is, although definitions of defensive gun use vary, it is generally defined as the use of a firearm to protect and defend oneself, family, other people, and or property against crime or victimization. No problems with that part, but it continues. Estimates of defensive gun use vary depending on the questions asked, population studied, time frame, and other factors related to study design. Given the wide variability in estimates, additional research is necessary to understand defensive gun use prevalence, frequency, circumstances, and outcomes. So they just trashed the information and pretended like it never existed in the first place, even though it was their own study. They did not even reach out to the study's original authors to rebut the challenge by the gun control advocacy groups. They just accepted it, apparently over the objections of many CDC staffers. To those workers' credit. The manipulation of data is not new for the Gun Violence Archive, who redefined mass shootings to include a much broader definition, increasing the frequency of mass shootings by a mere redefinition, which they then report, which then circulates through the media as an easy talking point. On the other hand, as the CDC noted to GVA, they only count defensive gun use if it makes it into media and police reports, and there is no indication that they even have access to every police or media report. They exclude information from surveys and studies. I'm sure any gun violence from these sources is fair game, though, for their pro-gun control statistics. This information is important to any honest firearms debate. The study is still out there. It was still published by the CDC. They can't erase that, but they have made it impossible to locate the old fact sheet on their website that included this information. This was a CDC study that found, quote, self-defense can be an important crime deterrent, and that defensive use of guns have found, quote, consistently lower injury rates among gun-using crime victims compared with victims who used other self-protective strategies. Pretty common sense that someone with a firearm is better off defending themselves compared to, say, a shoe.
Oh, that really hurt.
But even that is too controversial for gun control advocates. You can't even indicate that a firearm could possibly do anything other than murder. These groups apparently not only want to control your lives by limiting your rights, but are also able to control information put out by a federal bureaucracy. According to the CDC, they are the nation's leading science-based, data-driven service organized that protects the public health. Well, while they are deleting things, they might want to remove that data-driven part, since apparently the studies they commission don't matter and can be removed at the request of outside actors, as long as it fits the talking points they want to make. That's all I have for today. Is anyone actually surprised by this? I am just in that it was so blatant and apparently easy. Just ask and they acquiesce to their demands. Please be sure to share this video around, like it, and subscribe to the channel for more content. Thanks for watching.